So here we've got part of a table which appears at the end of the document. It's called APEASE. That comes from the title of the columns: acceptability, practicability, effectiveness, affordability, spillover effects, and equity. And I'll say to David, I'll come to you on equity in just a moment. But look at what it is saying down here. Use the media to increase the sense of personal threat. Use the media to make people fearful. And why do you do that? Well, psychologists have been telling us all weekend, you do that because when people are fearful and stressed, it is easier to use applied behavioral psychology to get them to do what you want.
And this is the main thing. This channel, I want it to be the best resource possible for the latest information and the best information. And like I said, I don't want you to miss anything. So I've done an edit of a tip-off I've had today about bombshell documents released by UK Column News.
And what have we got to report? Well, we were given 2 days ago an internal document from SAGE, and let's have a look at what it is talking about. This paper was prepared by SAGE's Behavioural Science Subgroup, SPI-B, for discussion at SAGE 18 on the 23rd of March. Now, we've taken some damning excerpts out of this document, but it's real, and my goodness, this is so dangerous. So here's the government talking about persuasion, perceived threat. A substantial number of people do not feel sufficiently personally threatened. It could be that they're reassured with the low death rate in their demographic group, although levels of concern may be rising. And what does it go on to say there in bold? The perceived level of personal threat needs to be, quote, increased.
But I'm struggling to see how this is not a direct psychological attack on everybody in this country.
It is, Mike. It is a direct psychological attack. And if you look at the number of charities and organizations saying that we've got an increasing mental health problem in this country, people are stressed, people are, some of them, in suicidal position. This is the British government using applied behavioral psychology inside the COVID science group to make people frightened so that it can put its agenda in place. When we get to the end of this document, you're not going to believe what it says. But let's move on.
I've been tipped off here on Hitchens' blog. Thank you for Peter Hitchens for tipping us off here. He's put it on the top for us all to see. Please, Peter and everyone, listen to UK Column News today. It has devastating document produced in March which shows how the government drew up policies to use the media to terrify the British people into accepting the shutdown. More than that, these documents show that it's government policy, not documents but a leak, I should say, a leak from inside a cabinet meeting, that it's government policy to destroy 50 to 60% of small businesses with the lockdown. Okay, this is a total restructuring of society.
Now let's jump back to last Monday when UK Column had an exclusive. Whistleblower at pretty high level in Westminster had told us that the whole thing about lockdown is that the government did not want to release lockdown because whilst the population are locked up, it gave the government the opportunity to repurpose government. So it was an extraordinary, lockdown was seen as an extraordinary opportunity not to reopen 50 to 60% of what each company does. And then it said, so why reopen schools, care homes, coal-fired power stations? Don't reopen any of them. They are garbage. They're yesterday's technology. They're polluting. They're toxic. They're badly organised. You don't reopen them. And the individual went on to say that if huge amounts of money was to be brought to bear, £240 billion, increasing debt by 7 times, it was pointless reopening all the old stuff. Now was the time to, quote, reinvent society. So this person who was able to talk at very high level with very senior members of the civil service and the government said the government did not want to reopen the country because while the country was locked down, this whole reinvention, repurposing, transformation policy of government could go ahead at speed.
Just ran this through Redwood. He knows all about the 322 people, and I've put just watch, total joke, John, as he knows. Just watch today's UK column news. So we have the most revolutionary communist government ever, and they are called Conservatives? ? Yeah, it has devastating document produced in March, and then I put the 22nd of March, 322.
But we're going to now say that Boris Johnson is coercing the UK public to accept COVID-19 house arrest, because that's what it is. It isn't lockdown. We're locked up in our houses, and if you're elderly, you're going to be locked up in your house for many months to come. Now, the coercing is not UK column words, as you'll see in a minute, but just so that we know what coercion is, it's the practice of forcing another party to act in a, quote, involuntary manner by use of threats or force. Now let's take our minds back to this diagram which UK column produced, showing that Bill Gates was absolutely central to every single piece of policy around COVID lockdown and the desire to get those vaccines in. And you've just shown, Mike, that they are still after getting Bill Gates vaccines to everybody in the country before we're free.
From this evening, I must give the British people a very simple instruction. You must stay at home.
Until we have a vaccine that we've gotten out to basically the entire world.